Here we are with one of the most classic Battlefield games, Battlefield 3. This game came out over a decade ago, back when games were really good, and now those games are becoming nostalgic. But the question is, does Battlefield 3 still hold up after all these years? Well, let's find out. And I want to start these videos off with the campaign because it makes sense to me, but you could check the timestamp and skip to the multiplayer if that's what you really want. But for those of you who are extra cool, let's get into the campaign. Man, this is back when good multiplayer games also had good to decent campaigns. 2042. Even if the campaign was short and linear, games like Modern Warfare 2, Bad Company 2, and even Homefront had this intense and badass cinematic vibe. But to be honest, I never really played Battlefield 3 back in the day, so this is a completely unbiased review. The only nostalgia I possibly have is the Battlefield 3 beta because I remember Operation Metro, but realistically I was playing Modern Warfare 3 or Black Ops 2 at the time. So, there's 12 missions in a span of about 4 to 5 hours, so you're constantly seeing something new and exciting. I really appreciate the variety these type of campaigns have to offer, but as always, the vehicle missions can be very hit or miss. Personally, I try not to hate them too much. Like, it's obvious that plane mission was very overhyped, but I think the presentation is still very cool. It just needed more shooting. There's actually a decent amount of time where you're not shooting, whether it's a cutscene or a QuickTime event. Since it was my first time playing the campaign, I didn't mind all of these little things in that it's very linear, but that obviously means there's not much replayability and that if you've played the campaign once, you've seen everything. But I'd still recommend playing it if it's been a while because it's still very intense and fun. If you can't get past the bright lights and that this game's favorite color is blue, then sure, I get it, but it's so much fun that I wish I had nostalgia. I picked the normal difficulty and it was a pretty fair challenge. I actually had to take the game seriously and I felt pretty immersed. I honestly don't know much about the story, but that last cutscene had a dark tone that I appreciated and it made it all feel worth it. I was just like, damn.
But they have no regrets.
I'm pretty sure that the story is not good and ridiculous, but who cares? I'm just playing on this roller coaster ride of missions and I'm along for the ride. Too bad I don't really care about the characters like I did in Bad Company 2, even though you're kinda supposed to. But I did think the interrogation room cutscenes were kind of interesting, especially towards the end. I only cared about story stuff during the last few missions. It's honestly worth experiencing the beginning and end of the campaign just to see how it plays out. Like I said, it's only 4 or 5 hours long, so it doesn't take much to experience all of this. It just makes me happy to play a AAA first-person shooter campaign that was made in my most nostalgic time in gaming. And to play it as a new experience and appreciate it right now, it just means a lot. I'll be anticipating Battlefield 4's campaign, but I already played that a long time ago. Just imagine playing the Modern Warfare 2 or Black Ops 2 campaign for the first time right now. That's almost what this feels like, just not as good as those games. At least campaign-wise. But don't get me wrong, guys. I know this isn't the best campaign in the world. I'm just a reviewer who appreciates the games he plays, okay? Is that such a crime? Yeah, I know it's linear, and I know the lights are annoying, and that this game is obsessed with the color blue, and that the vehicle missions could suck, and that the QuickTime events suck, but you know what didn't suck? The vibes, so shut up. Okay, I think I'm done rambling about the campaign. Play it if you haven't already or if it's been a while. I think it stands the test of time well enough. Take a trip and a journey back in time like I did. I hope I was able to show you the gameplay mostly in order of the campaign so the video itself is a bit of a journey. I wanted to be brief without many spoilers, but without taking any longer, let's get into that multiplayer. Well, here we are about a month later after playing the multiplayer for about 20 hours. And I wouldn't blame you if you skipped to this part of the video. It's no secret that the multiplayer is the juicy part. And like I said earlier, I never really played this game back in the day, so that kinda puts me in a unique position because I'm sure most of you have nostalgia, and for a good reason. Like, even though I was busy playing Black Ops 2 at the time, in hindsight, I can see that Battlefield 3 was a big deal not only for the Battlefield franchise, it was a genre-defining game. Even playing the game nowadays, I can see why it was such a big deal. I don't want to compare this game to other Battlefield games too much for the sake of this review, and because I'm reviewing them in order, but when you break everything down, BF3 does so many things right and is just simply a fun game. I really love the class system in the older Battlefield games, and it feels like everyone has their purpose. Since I'm a newer player, of course I love using the medic and the assault rifles, but recently I started to appreciate the engineer and support. I still struggle with recon, but I respect it. It's fun leveling up all the guns and using a certain class in a specific situation. It doesn't feel like you should use the same gun in the same class all the time, which I obviously like. Unless you're a sweat using the AEK in every situation. In that case, you suck. Well, I'm still learning all the guns, and the gunplay is really interesting to me. There's a lot of situations where you shouldn't just hold down the trigger, and that's when you learn to tap on the trigger and burst fire. Even at medium range with an assault rifle, you still might want to tap on that trigger. I can see this being a love or hate thing. To me, it's fun and different trying to learn the recoil compared to something with easier recoil like COD. The time to kill is really nice too, but since this is Battlefield 3 we're talking about, along with the gunplay, you have suppression. Oh, suppression. How everybody hates you. But to be honest, guys, and don't leave a dislike, but I don't hate suppression. Yeah, I said it. Maybe it's my innocence as a noob, but I really don't mind it. It feels like it helps me get more points more than it annoys me. I'm also a big point whore who loves to play the objective and heal people and get assists, so I'm a little biased. But moving into the maps, this definitely decides which gun and class I want to use. I won't be able to talk about the maps like someone who experienced this game back in the day. Don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed every map I've played so far, but getting into the player count a little later, I didn't get to play that many maps yet because of this. But the first thing I knew I had to do when getting into the multiplayer is playing Operation Metro 24/7. Man, you already know how classic this map is. I didn't even play this game and I know. It's kind of what Siege of Shanghai is to Battlefield 4. It's like the main map whether you love it or hate it. I couldn't even tell you how it was experiencing this map for the first time. It showed me that there's beauty in the chaos. There's so many times where you're gonna be spawn killing and getting spawn killed, pushing hard on the objective, watching people die around you. Man, it really feels like a war out here. Now that doesn't mean it's all good though, because it could go both ways. But I love when the game has a good balance and it becomes a long, satisfying fight for the objective. It's gameplay like this I can really appreciate nowadays, and the large scale of everything really adds to it. Everything usually feels so big and cinematic and epic, especially on those larger conquest maps. I don't play them as often as I should, but it's so much fun learning the bigger maps, and all of the ones I played so far flow very nicely. Admittedly, I mostly played on Metro and that one canal map because those are the two biggest clusterfucks, and it's a good way to learn the game and level everything up. But I imagine over time, I'll play those more classic conquest maps. It's just what I briefly said earlier about the player count. Yeah, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's enough to limit your options. I'm showing you the Steam numbers, and they added this game to Steam about a year ago. I don't think this includes everyone on Origins, but there's usually always a full lobby. There's just not as much variety as you might want. Now take a look at this. It's weird how you have to go on this website to actually play the game. Most of the time you'll see Operation Metro 24/7 or that canal map 24/7, but there's also a conquest server with every map, which is a little more rare, but it's really fun. I don't have too much experience with the vehicles, but they add to the gameplay and just make the game feel bigger. Seeing and hearing the planes fly above you, hiding from the enemy tanks, driving to the objective, experimenting with all the vehicles, man, that's just the beginning. It would be a game changer if I was playing with someone, but for now, I've been playing solo, and even as a solo experience, it's still pretty fun and the randoms can be cool. But I'm sure it'd be a lot more fun doing badass vehicle stuff and respawning with a friend. But it's impressive how this game manages to still feel big and cinematic even by yourself. The squad system definitely helps with that, but one thing that doesn't help with that and relating to the player count, yeah, we're dealing with some sweaty tryhards. Does it give you PTSD when I say a level 100 with an AEK 971? Because they still exist. Listen, I don't have a problem if you're level 100. I just start to question your sanity if you're still only using the best gun or even spawn killing with the best vehicle after this long. Like, I just play for fun. Switch it up a little. It's only been more than a decade. You've had plenty of time to switch it up. Luckily, these type of players don't ruin most matches, and it won't be too long until you're one of them. I'm level 20 something and I have decent stats so far. This is one cool thing about that website. I love me some stats. I can see myself making a 50 or even 100 hour review on this game. I'm still enjoying the grind and I like playing the game a lot. It feels like I'm playing a piece of history that still holds up. I personally love it when older games stand the test of time. But that doesn't mean it's all good. Like I said about the player count being just playable, there's still a few things to criticize. There's that annoying light that I've mentioned a few times. It looks pretty, but can get in the way. And most people don't like suppression, so I'll bring that up. And the sweats can ruin the flow of gameplay sometimes. There can be a bit of lag on some servers. I wish I can play more maps more easily. Along with the low player count, it looks like some lobbies have fake players to look full. It's weird, but it happens. I'm sure I might be forgetting something, but my overall enjoyment is keeping me optimistic. Speaking of forgetting something, I guess the destruction isn't as crazy as it was in Bad Company 2, and this is when it started to be more controlled and specific. Maybe it's a step backwards, but I still think it looks good and can make some epic moments. On top of all that, I think there's a good amount of replayability and progression, especially if you never played on PC before. I heard Battlefield is an almost completely different experience on PC, especially Battlefield 3, and I can see that. So, is the classic Battlefield 3 still worth playing? If you ask me, yeah, it is. As long as the player count is just good enough like it is while I'm recording this video, I think it's still a good time. As long as certain things don't feel too outdated, you're good to go. Especially if you have a friend to play with, or if you never played this game on Steam or PC, or even if you're just feeling nostalgic, the price of nostalgia isn't too high if you get this game on sale, so with everything I said up to this point, Battlefield 3 still stands the test of time, and I'd still recommend it. I wonder how my opinion will change as I get more hours and play other Battlefields. Who knows, maybe some of the other Battlefields make this game look terrible in comparison, but something tells me that's not the case. Maybe Battlefield 4 fixes and adds a lot of things, but Battlefield 3 did a lot of things right and set a new standard for the franchise. I appreciate that type of history and what this game did for its time. I'm sure there's a few things I forgot to mention, especially because I made this video in 2 separate parts with a month in between, but I hope I wasn't just rambling. I tried to say as much as I can without overdoing it. I'm excited to get started on Battlefield 4, but I'm not going to stop playing Battlefield 3. I know BF3 isn't as played and is more of the underdog after all these years, but I want to make a more experienced review and even compare both games in a video, so be on the lookout for that. It's been fun playing the classic Battlefield games, and I'll see you guys in Battlefield 4. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and that some of you got nostalgic vibes. Please leave a like if you did enjoy. It's a good way of telling me you guys like these Battlefield reviews. Drop a comment telling me if you played BF3 back in the day or how you feel about it now. My first impressions are great, and I'm a bit of an optimist right now, so I'd like to hear a veteran's opinion. You can also let me know if I forgot anything. I have a weird balance of trying to say a lot, but not too much. Don't forget to subscribe if you've been enjoying the content. I don't only upload Battlefield, so be open to the random games on my channel. But you can check on the screen for some of my other Battlefield videos. Thank you guys for watching this far into the video. The longer you watch the video, the better viewer you are. And hopefully I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.